Yo, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Wiz back again with another video, and in that clip you just saw me pull the trigger. I finally purchased an FX3. Today is Monday, November the 13th, so hopefully it'll be here in the next few days. I'm actually filming my very last video on this camera right here, the Sony a7S III, and if you clicked on this video, you're probably on the fence about, whether you should get rid of your a7S III for an FX3, or maybe you just want to, hear some insight, hear somebody talk about it. In this video, I'm gonna explain why I made the switch to the FX3 and I'm selling my a7S III in late 2023. All right, so I'm gonna get right to it. The reason why I bought an FX3 and I'm selling my Sony a7S III is for about 2 to 3 reasons. The first reasons are, after using the FX30, because I do own an FX30, the ergonomics and the feature set in the FX3, I would have to say that it's a more superior camera. Although it's about 90% the same as this, I feel like it's a superior camera once you add the ergonomics and the additional features, which I'll get into a few of those in this video. The second reason that I decided to sell my Sony a7S III is I feel like the FX3 it's gonna have more shelf life in the long run. I don't like to sound like one of those guys that because a new camera comes out, my old camera becomes obsolete. But when I really just think about it, I can kind of see where Sony is gonna take their video line and this a7S line, which I don't think that they're going to get rid of, by the way. So as far as the features that interest me with the FX3, I'm sure if you're like me, you've probably watched tons of videos comparing it to, tons of reviews and things like that. Now, let me just say, I primarily shoot, I do video productions where I'm primarily working by myself. I, do wedding videography for the most part. So I'm doing like full wedding days, multiple camera, shoots, ceremonies, receptions, things like that. And I also do like video podcasts where, again, I'm multicam, 3 to 4 cameras. I own 4 cameras, 2 A7 IVs, the FX30, and this. So it's gonna be the FX3, FX30, my 2 A7 IVs. The one feature that's not even really a feature, it's like a body design that is kind of small, that I feel like will really be useful to me, is the tally lights when recording. Because if I'm at a ceremony or I'm at, on set at the podcast shows that I record, being able to stand at any corner of the room and just look at the camera from the front and see that I did press record is, it sounds like something stupid to upgrade a camera for, but, that's part of the reason that I feel like, why I want an FX3, or I wish all cameras kind of had tally lights. Something small, you should know if you press record or not, but, it could be a big deal. Other than the tally lights of the FX3, like I said, it's just the ergonomics, the body. Although you can customize the a7S III to pretty much do whatever you wanted to do. I like the button layout. I like the, specific buttons for the specific actions. I just want to be in that cinema line. Using the FX30, I just like the way that the camera, like the ergonomics, just the way it operates, the button placement. You got Cine EI, the ability to import LUTs. I even like the focus mapping here and there. I use focus mapping. I can just see the way that Sony is kind of like letting the gas off of the a7S III and kind of putting more energy into the FX3 going forward, and I think making the switch with them is just a good idea at this point. One of the other things that really pushed me to upgrade and get rid of the Sony a7S III is the announcement of the A9. I feel like the A9 with the global shutter and just all those new features and even the AI features they rolled out in the other cameras. The announcement that they made with the firmware and the lack of things that they're going to be adding with the firmware in the, in this camera, the Sony a7S, all they're bringing is lens breathing compensation and I think DCI 4K, which is like, Then the update itself won't be available until like early 2024. So it's like, what's that about? You know what I mean? And I feel like at the end of the day, the FX3 is just coming off of everybody, being known that it was used, to film the creator, so it's like the creator camera at this point. Seeing as though that's going on, that whole fanfare, I don't really think that we're in store for like a Sony FX3 Mark II, at least for another year. I would say a year and a half, like 2025, because think about it. Like, they just made this film, The Creator, on it. Everybody's raving about it. They see people like me that just bought it, so they're just like, okay, we're gonna keep selling these FX3s, because if a Mark II comes out, it's gonna kind of cannibalize the sales. The Creator kind of hyped it up. People are gonna buy it, and then, you know, when that kind of wears off a little bit, I see them releasing a Mark II, and, you know, people buying that as well. When these companies tell us who they are or tell us about their products, we gotta believe them. By them only adding the lens breathing compensation and the DCI 4K, they're pretty much telling you that the A7S line is what it is. The fact that Sony a7S III isn't getting the you know, the anamorphic, or I'm not sure if they did get the anamorphic, so don't quote me on that, but they're not getting the ability to import LUTs. They're not getting Cine EI. It's not a, like, why would they put all that in the A7S? Cine EI, when they have a cinema camera that, you know, is supposed to be their cinema camera. I don't think the A7S IV even is ever gonna have, you know, monitoring tools. It's never gonna have built-in NDs, because why would it? If the A7R has its place, the A7S has its place. It's gonna always be, in my opinion, primarily video-focused hybrid camera. Just like the A7R is gonna be the primarily photo-focused hybrid camera. The A7 IV, if that ever comes out, is going to be the hybrid camera, which does a little bit of both. There's gonna be, you know, crops, and not crops, but cripples on each end to make that camera make sense, but then make you think it doesn't make sense at the end of the day. Another reason why I'm selling my Sony a7S III as it relates to the firmware is I feel like it's a good time to kind of move off of it, because, you know, not only was it already getting lost in the sauce with, you know, the FX3 being prioritized with the firmware and all the features that, you know, everybody wants except the monitoring tools, I feel like it still holds a lot of value. Now, I had actually put my camera on eBay just to do it, just to kind of see what the market was. I looked at, like, you know, what cameras on eBay had sold for, you know, recently, the a7S III, and they were like $2,400. And I'm like, what? I'm thinking like, nah, I actually got mine for like $3,100 brand new off eBay. It was like a sale. And I was like, but you know, the thing still costs $3,400. I should be able to get like 28 for it. I put it on there for 28. I didn't, like, nobody was like paying attention to it. So I had to lower the price all the way down to $25.75. So I'm just like, okay, you have all these other cameras with all these other AI features. Like, one thing that Sony did that I didn't like is they literally saturated like the market with cameras to the point that it's like, okay, what do I even buy at this point? I mean, if you're a professional, I think you need something with dual card slots. I think you need something with a bigger body and something that's definitely not going to overheat. So all those other ZVE ones and everything else, one card slot, it really isn't an option for me. I don't even like pay attention to it, but I feel like it has kind of cannibalized the market for the A7S. So once I kind of saw that, and the final nail in the coffin for me was the firmware, and I can just vividly see, okay, this is not the video camera that it's not the, I think the a7S II really set the bar high in people's minds for what they thought the a7S III was going to mean to Sony in terms of like priority. But once the FX3 came out, and they, like I said, when they show you what their products are to them, believe them. We can't sit here and say we wish the products is gonna be like this and like that. Once they showed me what they were gonna do with the update, and I saw that the market was getting a little sour with the a7S III, I don't wanna hold on to it, say second quarter 2024, and then I'm trying to sell it for close to $2,000 because nobody really wants it. So I said, you know what? It might be a good time to move off of the Sony a7S that they're clearly not prioritizing, go to the FX3, which even if I keep that camera for like, say, a year, or a year and a half, or 2 years, or what have you, you know, I think that you can still probably sell that camera for $3,000. I'm buying it $3,800, $3,900 new. It'd be worth $3,000. Now think about it, right? I bought this camera, a7S III, for $3,100. I think it was like $3,202 with, you know, taxes and everything, right? It actually was $3,000, and it came up to $3,202. I just sold it for $2,575. if I wanted to rent this camera for a shoot for like a weekend, say like 3 days, it would probably cost me like $250. I bought this camera in August of 2022. I've had this camera for, what is that, 14 months, 15 months, and I'm getting practically $2,600 back after spending $3,200. You know what I mean? I spent $600 to have the Sony a7S III for 15 months. That's not a bad deal. And you know, I don't have an attachment to any equipment, so that's why I'm getting the FX3 already knowing that if a Mark II ever comes out and it has like, you know, maybe global shutter or things that make sense, I'll sell my FX3, you know, whatever. Even if I get like 2,800 for it, which I wouldn't go below 2,800, I would have to hold on and really see what the market's doing, because you ain't about to get an FX3 for like $2,500. I think you can get it, you know, I'll be able to sell it for like 32 or 3,000. But anyway, it's like renting it for a year, man. I mean, things cost money, and the fact that you can get money, so much of the money back for the things you buy as it relates to like cameras, I think that's a blessing in itself, man. So like I said, I'm not mad at the Sony a7S III. I don't think it's a sorry camera. I don't think that any of these camera releases really, you know, messed this camera up or made it less than what it is. It's an awesome, it's a, you know, terrific camera. However, I don't want to just be stuck with it, because I'm not the type of person that's just going to have like a $3,000 camera just sitting in my house that I don't use. If I'm not using it, I got to move off of it. All right, so that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it at with this video, man. I really just felt like a need to record a last video with my a7S III. Like I said, the reason why I'm moving off the a7S III in late 2023 is because I see the path Sony has for this camera. This is their video priority hybrid camera. I'm not really interested in the viewfinder. I never even use it. I've never even taken a photo with this picture. So the person that's getting it is getting a camera with a 0 shutter count. So like I said, I really hope you know, you enjoyed this video. If you were on the fence about selling your a7S III, me personally, I would do it. I wouldn't sell it for no ZVE1 though, unless you only do like content creation and you don't do any long. I feel like nobody ever points out that if you do like long form content, like when you're recording for like 30 minutes or an hour at a time, that it's probably not the camera for you. Everybody like points out the AI tools where your camera's going around like this that nobody probably even uses. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like this video, I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out.